Hello everyone, welcome back. I am Krishna and let's continue with the learning of product manufacturing capabilities in SAP Business by Design. In Unit 3 of Week 3, we will discuss production planning. To put things in perspective, we will be discussing the plan function of production planning business flow. In this unit, we will primarily cover these aspects of production planning: the material requirement planning, production proposal documents, material flow, and finally the resource loading. Production planning. In week 2 of this course, you have gone through the planning run function available in SAP Business by Design. To quickly recap that, material requirement planning is run at a product and planning area level. Based on the net demand requirement and the procurement type maintained in the product master, planning run shall create purchase, production or stock transfer proposals to net off the demand. Among all these planning documents, the document that is relevant for production is production proposal. A production proposal shall only be created when it finds a valid planning production model, which we discussed in the last unit. Once a proposal is created, then based upon the underlying production model, system shall create the dependent requirements for all the components involved. Proposal, when released for execution, shall become production request. Each production relevant document, be it production proposal or production request, shall have the dependent requirements created for the components as per the underlying production model. Other key element of planning is multi-level planning. This shall ensure that system shall plan across all the products involved in the production model using which a production document is created. Now, once a production proposal is created, how exactly is the duration computed? The duration is computed by adding the fixed and the variable duration of activities in the production execution operation. Setup time, teardown time and resource scheduling buffer contribute to the fixed time, whereas the produce and final inspection contribute to the variable time. The other key element of the by design system is the material flow. The material flow shows the entire pegging network between the demand and the supply entities, starting from the independent demand, for example sales order and forecast, to the highest demand known in the pegging network. The material flow shows the important information in relation to the unpegged quantity and pegged quantity. What exactly does that mean? The pegged quantity informs the planner on how much of the supply quantity is already pegged to the corresponding demand. The unpegged quantity informs the planner on how much of the demand is still not covered by the pegged supply. In all ideal circumstances, we would like to have the unpegged quantity as 0. The another important aspect of the planning is the resource load. The resource load view helps to find out which resources have load issues. The load can be aggregated in different time periods, be it day, week, month or shift. There are graphics available in the solution which will show the gap between the available capacity and the load. The cumulative graphic helps to make the decision whether the load can be smoothed into the future or if the available capacity might need to be increased. Let's check all these details in the system now. Let me log into the Business by Design system as a supply planner. Okay, now here in the last unit, what we have done is that we have created the product and we have created the production model. So let's assume for this particular product, we have the demand created in the form of sales orders. Let's quickly navigate to the supply planning and check our products. So our products are starting with OS, standing for OpenSAP, and then Let's select all our products and then open the supply planning screen. To start off with the demo, what I have done is I have created the demand for the cartridge. So there are two sales orders coming, or maybe two sales order items coming with a demand of 200 units each. So I have a total requirement of 400 units of cartridge. Now at this point, I can actually run the planning, and the planning will try to net off the demand to create the proposals. Since the cartridge has the procurement type captured as in-house production, system would create the production proposal. But as I mentioned earlier, for creating the proposal, you need to have the underlying production model, which we created in the last unit. So let me quickly run the planning. So in the planning, we have primarily two options, the single BOM level, multi-BOM level. What exactly is the difference? The single BOM level will only plan for the cartridge, whereas if I select the multi-BOM level, it will not only plan for the cartridge, but will also plan for the components that are required to produce the cartridge. So it will also run the planning for ball carrier, etc. So to start off, let's quickly run the planning. Let's run only for one level. So before I run the planning, let us also check the status on the products. If I check the status on the products, for example, ball, there is no demand element. It just informs me that the stock is 0. Okay, and if I really check the ball carrier, hardly there is any demand or the supply element. So let's go back to our product cartridge, and let's try to run the planning at a cartridge level. So once the planning is run, system would always create the receipt elements. Now if you see here, system created the production proposals in order to meet the demand. So let's try to save this particular result and check the impact of it. Okay, now what exactly is the impact of this? The production proposal got created, which will create the dependent demand requirement for the components. Earlier we have seen there is nothing on this screen, but the proposal that got created for the cartridge informs the system, if you want to make cartridge, okay, then you need to have the demand for the ball and the ball carrier and the stem and the ink. These are called as dependent requirements. But the receipts are not planned for the components. But not only ball, if you see the ball carrier, the receipts are not planned, okay, and plastic, there is no demand, because if you remember, the production model we created is for the variant black and steel stem. So if I really go to the steel stem, again I have the dependent demand, and same is the case with the black ink, and I will not have any demand for the red ink. But if you see, for none of the components the receipts are created, only the dependent demand has come, because we have not run the multi-level MRP. Let's go back and let's run the multi-level MRP. I will go back to the cartridge, and at the cartridge I will try to run the planning this time at a multi-level. The moment I run the multi-level, system will also show you all the components where the planning has been run. How is system determining these components? The basis is the planning production model. If you remember, we created the planning production model for the variant black and steel BOM, because of which system took the components as ball carrier, the steel stem and the black ink. So for all the products, system has run the planning now, and when we navigate to the products, we will see that the receipts are planned for the components as well. Let me save the planning result and let me navigate to the components. I see that the components are also planned, creating the purchase proposals. Why the components have purchase proposals whereas the cartridge has production proposal? Because in the material master, we told the system that cartridge is produced in-house, okay, whereas the components are purchased, and hence system created purchase proposals for all the components and created production proposal for the cartridge. Now let's try to take a look at the production proposal that got created. Let's see 1836. If you really see this, system informs me that the end date is 29th of August at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the start date is 20th of August and it is at 4:15 in the afternoon. So there is a time lag here. How is the time computed? If you see, the date also got shifted. From August 29th, the start date went to August 28th. And the time. How exactly is the time computed? If you remember, when we defined the production model, we said the setup will take 5 minutes, the ink and stem will take 1 minute, and the final assembly will take 1 minute. The setup is fixed, whereas this time is variable. So we need 2 minutes to create the variable assembly, okay? 1 minute for filling the ink and 1 minute for creating the final assembly. So for making one cartridge, I need 2 minutes, okay? And I also have a fixed setup time of 5 minutes. So for making 200 units, the fixed time will remain same, that is 5 minutes, and for 200 units, 200 multiplied by 2 minutes per cartridge. So it will be in total of 405 minutes. The 405 minutes, if you really convert it into the hours and minutes, it will be 6 hours and 45 minutes. So what system has done is that if you really want to complete the cartridge proposal by 3 o'clock, then system will navigate 6 hours 45 minutes into the back and then create the start time. Now, when I really remove the 6 hours back, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon, system will try to go for 6 hours 45 minutes into the back. It's called as backward scheduling. But when it is trying to do that, it understands my plant will only work from morning 9 o'clock. So between morning 9 o'clock and afternoon 3 o'clock, there is only 6 hours time left. So it consumes the entire 6 hours of the 29th August, and then it goes back onto the previous day to consume the rest of the 45 minutes. To consume the rest of the 45 minutes, on the previous day, it starts at the latest possible time. So the plant works from 9 to 5 on 20th of August. So system schedules for the 45 minutes from the 5 o'clock in the evening on 20th August. So the start time is 4:15 in the evening on 20th August. So that on 20th August, it takes 45 minutes, and on the next day, it takes the remaining 6 hours. So a total of 6 hours 45 minutes will be considered while scheduling the planning proposal. And you can also see the detailed structure of this into the production proposal details. When I navigate to the proposal structure, we can see primarily there are two particular operations, one for filling the ink and one for creating the final assembly. For filling the ink, it is actually mentioned that it needs 3 hours 25 minutes because it includes a setup time of 5 minutes, and for filling the ball, for creating the final assembly, we need 3 hours 20 minutes because there is no further setup required. In total of 6 hours 45 minutes, and system schedules as per the required date minus the 6 hours 45 minutes to come at the start date. That's the proposal. Now, the other important element for the proposal is the material flow. As we mentioned at the beginning of this unit, material flow will let the user to determine whether the demand has enough supply pegged or not. Let's quickly check that. When I open the material flow for the particular order, we can also see that this particular proposal is created to peg to the demand of the sales order. The reason why the proposal got created is because there is a demand of sales order. So it says very clearly, at a sales order level, there is a pegged supply, that is the production proposal, and the production proposal is supported by the component purchase proposals. Okay, so it shows me the pegged quantity is 200 here, whereas the unpegged demand is 0. The unpegged quantity is 0, that is the ideal scenario, which actually means for every demand element, there is a supply element. So let's try to mix things a bit. Okay, what shall we do is, we will not touch this. What we will do is, we will go to the component, okay, we will go to one of the component ball, and we say that even though system planning proposed 200 units, let's say that I manually change it to, okay, so let's say 40 units. So the demand is for 200 units, but I only said that I am going to purchase only for 40 balls. Then what's going to happen in the system? So let's navigate back to the cartridge and let's open the material flow. Once you open the material flow, we see very clearly here, okay, for the ball, there is a pegged quantity of 40 because the proposal is created for 40 units. So, the supply is pegged to the demand, whereas there is an unpegged demand of 160 units. System starts showing up onto the material flow screen, which gives an understanding for the planner to understand, okay, there is some unpegged quantity. Because there is an unpegged quantity, my demands cannot be met. So, either my planning has to be run again, or maybe the planner has to intervene to ensure that the unpegged quantity will be made to 0. Okay. Now, that is step number 1. The next thing is, okay, fine, you have the MRP has planned it, and MRP mentioned that you have to create some production proposals, you have to purchase something. So, MRP has given all these actions. But what is the impact of it? Do you really have enough resources into the site in order to produce such kind of quantity? So, let us see what is the impact of it on the resources. So, we know that we have used the resource called as KR machine. So, let us quickly navigate to the resource, and we have these exceptions. In case if your resource is overloaded, system will show it in the exceptions window itself. So, I go to the resources and I can actually execute it, and I can see that there are some certain resources over here, and if there are some exceptions, we will see the exceptions over here. If not, we can directly go to the resource load and we can check the loading of our resource. So, I will just open this resource KR machine, and we can see it in the load graph that there is a load available in the system. And if you see, the entire bucket is week. System is aggregating the data at a weekly level. So, in the load graph, system gives me a week data. In that week, there is no loading. We can also change the loading view from the week to the daily basis. Let us quickly do that. I am going to the resource, and in the resource, let me change the capacity view from the week to the day. The moment I change it from week to day, there will be corresponding impact on the resource load as well. The reason for that is, let us say that my resource is working for 8 hours a day, and I have a load coming for close to 10 hours a day. If I take on a daily basis, there is a overload. But if I take for 5 days, I have 5 into 8, 40 hours, and let us say my load is only for 10 hours, at a weekly level, I do not have an overload. Whereas, if I look at a daily level, I have an overload on one particular day. So, since I made the data at a daily level, let us go back and check the resource. I will just navigate back and see I already got the exception because at a daily level there is some kind of a overload. Let us quickly check into the system, and I can check it in the system in the load graph as well. System tells me on this particular day of 29th of August, there is a overload, okay, because there are 2 proposals that got created which is creating the overload. I can also see on that date what are the various proposals that created the overload. We can see that there are multiple proposals which are actually creating overload onto this particular resource. We will see how to avoid this overload in one of the units into the in this week. So, for now, let us understand that as a part of the resource loading, user will have a view of how the resource is overloaded, whether it is overloaded or not, and in the cumulative graph, he will also have an understanding, I have enough capacity by cumulating the available capacity into the future time buckets, but so with that I can manage my load with the future available capacities. How to use the load leveling, we will discuss in one of the upcoming units. So, with that we will complete the demo and we will get back to our slide decks, okay. And yeah, with that we come to the end of unit 3. To quickly summarize, in this unit we learned the following: the need of MRP run and the parameters that control it, the MRP run result across the multi-level BOM chain, the linkage between the receipt elements of parent and child components using material flow, and finally the basics of resource loading. In the next unit, we shall discuss the execution of production plans that we will release. See you there. Until then, goodbye.